And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, as per usual, we are going to do a quick recap of all of the games that went down the previous night in NBA basketball. And let me know in the comments if you guys would like an NCAA recap as well on all of the games that happened, because that's definitely probably going to be my focus as I'm going to watch a lot of this tournament, because it's definitely the most fun basketball that I see. Like, March Madness basketball, by far the best basketball. Like, that's just my personal opinion, however. Because anything can happen. And it's like almost every single game is a close game. But let's go right ahead and talk about the most important things that happened this yesterday and all the games that happened yesterday. So for starters, Jalen Green and Jalen Brunson were named the Eastern Conference and Western Conference Players of the Week. Obviously, very impressive stuff coming in from Green, who if you paid attention to the podcast, I'm not a big fan of him, and I really don't think that the Rockets should build around him because of him being a shot chucker. But when the shots start falling, there's really not much of an argument that could be made because, again, shot chucker, if chances are the shots are going to end up falling. Crucial PG in the chat saying Jalen Green needs that child support money. He's going to start hooping. You know, that might be it. That might be it because his baby mama, his wife, how whatever you want to call it, is having a child, and obviously, he's going to need a lot of money to support that child. So that might be a little bit motivation. But again, I really don't think that's a player that you should build around long term. I just don't agree with it whatsoever. And but with Jalen Brunson, on the other hand, definitely should build around him. He is by far one of the best point guards in this league, especially given his height. I mean, a lot of people say he's undersized. He's the same height as Donovan Mitchell. So, and nobody calls Donovan Mitchell undersized. I rarely heard a comment of Donovan Mitchell being called undersized. And everyone sort of respects Donovan Mitchell. And similar to him, they both play very well in the postseason. They put up good numbers in the regular season. Well, Jalen Brunson puts up a lot crazier numbers in the regular season so far. And then Donovan Mitchell gets most of his praise in the postseason. Now, part of it might be Donovan Mitchell's not in a high market, and that's sort of why Donovan Mitchell doesn't get as much talk as Jalen Brunson, because being on the Cavs, not really that high of a market unless LeBron is on the Cavs. But regardless, Jalen Brunson, he's still a great player, same height as Donovan Mitchell, producing the exact same stat. Well, better stats, arguably. And part of that might be his production with the Knicks, since he is their primary scorer. And speaking of the Knicks, they ended up playing the Golden State Warriors last night. Josh Hart became the first player to play 48 minutes in a game. He's putting up LeBron numbers in terms of minutes. And he also ended the game with another triple-double, dropping 10 points, 11 assists, 11 rebounds. So, minimal triple-double, but still definitely a very valuable player to this team. Miles McBride, that's a name that you haven't heard about show up on the stat sheet yet. He played 47 minutes and ended the game with 29 points. So, might expect to see him get a lot more minutes more often. Now, it's very interesting because this Knicks team ran a very small lineup going into this game. They only had one center, Isaiah Hartenstein. He ended the game with 13 and 10. Very impressive. But they also started 4 guards. They had Jalen Brunson, McBride, Hart, and DiVincenzo. Now, based on how Josh Hart plays, you might not really call him a traditional guard simply because he does everything else that you wouldn't really expect a guard to do. He rebounds the ball, he passes the ball really well, and he gets a lot of the gritty points, the second chance points that teams don't really try to get anymore. And he also plays defense. That's another thing. I don't want to forget about defense whatsoever because that's a very prominent aspect of the Knicks basketball, playing defense. And Jalen Brunson, he ended the game with 34 points, 7 assists, fantastic scorer. DiVincenzo ended the game with 18 points. So the Villanova boys were hooping. That's without a doubt. Now, one player who isn't hooping is Bogdanović. Now, the Knicks recently acquired him in trade, and so far it doesn't really seem like he's been producing as well as I thought he would. Now, this might be because like the minutes, like the Knicks are still trying to figure out exactly like who should get what minutes, especially since OG Anunoby is sort of like in and out, and Julius Randle still hasn't returned from his injury. So there's a lot of like flip-flopping with the lineups, and like there's a lot of adjustments that sort of like are made on the fly. And Josh Hart, again, he played 48 minutes. I don't expect him to play 48 minutes every single game like that. But again, like I have no idea what the Knicks want to do. They're the Knicks. So like again, I've been talking very good about them, but they're still the Knicks. Now, looking at the Golden State Warriors side, Steph Curry was the only real player that showed up on the offense coming in the starting lineup. Jonathan Kuminga, like obviously, like he's the other option, 16 points, but Steph Curry ended with 27 points, and Draymond Green not putting up very good stats in this game. Klay Thompson ended the game with 18 points, and let me just go ahead and look at the shooting percentages. Shot 5 of 10 from the field, but from 3, 5 of 10 from 3, but 6 of 15 from the field. I don't know, like, I mean, it seems that he's playing better coming off the bench. That's for sure. But is that do I think it's a good idea to have him coming off of the bench come playoff time? I'm not sure. Another player that was really good in the scoring sheets was Trace Jackson Davis. Ended the game 9 for 9 from the field, 19 points, very impressive. Chris Paul also showed up on the stat sheet, 14 points, 6 of 9 from the field. Andrew Wiggins, 2 of 9 from the field, 7 points. Definitely not good production, not something that you want from a player that's supposed to be really good at scoring. And I really have no idea like where to put this Golden State team. I don't think they're going to make it far in the play-in. If they match up against LeBron is going to whoop them yet again. I'm not surprised if that happens. Hi, Carpet. What's up? Carpet's just in the chat. I have no idea who that is, but what's up, Carpet? Now, again, like with this Golden State Warriors team, not entirely sure like where their ceiling is. Like if they go up against the Lakers, I think the Lakers are just going to beat them and end their playoff chances regardless. And there is a shot that like, you know, they end up winning, but Steph Curry has never beaten LeBron on an even playing field in the postseason. I know a lot of Curry fans are going to get upset at that, but LeBron has never lost to Steph Curry on an even playing field. 2015, Kyrie Irving wasn't in the series, and neither was Kevin Love. LeBron was averaging 39 points per game with a bunch of, I don't want to call them mediocre players. We'll call it that. Compared to the Golden State roster, who had Andre Iguodala, he won the Finals MVP, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. Then, 2016, LeBron beats him when he has the healthy squad that the Cavs were supposed to run in 2015. Then the Warriors get scared. Like people say this was an argument going on Twitter. People aren't afraid of LeBron James. I believe Shaq said this, and like several other players have said, no one's afraid of LeBron. That is not true. And I don't want to turn this into a LeBron rant because I'm sure all of you guys know how I feel about LeBron, but they had to get the second best small forward to join a 73-win team to beat him. That is being scared. I don't care what anyone says. That is being scared. But I digress. Next game on this list is Cleveland going up against the Pacers. Now, Halliburton has not been playing well in these recent games. Now, it might be because he's coming off of a hamstring injury. A lot of people are speculating that he's actually playing through the hamstring injury, so that way he gets paid a lot more money because of the 65 game requirement, because if he misses any more games, then he will miss out on a lot of the incentives that he could get if he didn't miss any games. But regardless, his performances have been hurting the team a lot more than helping the team. I'm going to pull up his stats here in the last few games. Now, over the last 5 games, Halliburton shot 1 of 9 from 3, 1 of 9 from 3 again, 1 of 6 from 3, 2 of 6 from 3, and then 1 of 6 from 3 again. That's 16% from 3. Now, that is not ideal coming from the player who is leading the Pacers in offense, especially when the Pacers literally only have offense. And I keep saying this every single time. If you do not have a good defense to fall back on, your offense is going to, if your offense is struggling, you're just not going to win because you don't have that defense to fall back on. And this has been the problem for the Pacers throughout the entire season, and it's going to be a problem going into the playoffs, especially now if their offense can't produce. Now, they play the Pistons tomorrow, so they do get a break going into tomorrow. But Halliburton this game, 14 points, 12 assists. Not producing as well as I expect him to. Pascal Siakam ended the game with 19 points, 12 rebounds. And again, there wasn't really that much scoring coming in from the Pacers, or not as much as you would usually expect. They shot 9 of 38 from 3, 23% as a team, compared to the Cavs, who ended up shooting 37% as a team and ended up hitting more threes. Jarrett Allen, 8 of 12 from the field, 23 points. Karis LeVert, 7 of 15, 23 points. And Darius Garland, he did not shoot the ball very well, 13 points, 5 of 18, but it didn't really matter. There was no Donovan Mitchell in this game, and they still ended up winning. Very concerning for the Pacers. We are running out of time. That is why I'm skimming through a lot of this. Now, the Miami Heat, they lost to Philly without Joel Embiid. And obviously, this is a problem for the Miami Heat. I remember they were ranked top 10 in the power rankings. Yeah, they do not deserve that whatsoever. And I did have if you guys do pay attention to the podcast that I did say that playoff Jimmy Butler was a myth. He didn't end up playing in this game, which is probably why they ended up losing. But still, I feel like this Miami Heat team is definitely better than that Sixers team as a whole, apart from them not having their best players, because neither one of them had their best players. I still think that the Heat should have ended up winning this game. Bam ended the game with 20 points and 13 rebounds. Terry Rozier ended the game with 20 points. He's been proving to be a very, very good scorer for the Heat. But Tyrese Maxey, he ended the game with 30 points and 10 assists with 41 minutes played. Kelly Oubre ended the game with 22 points. Kyle Lowry got his revenge on the Miami Heat, ended the game with 16 points. And again, skimming through this game because I want to bring up the Boston Celtics game going up against the Detroit Pistons. Now, might not sound that much of an important game because, it's the Pistons going up against the worst team in the East going up against the best team in the East. Obviously, the best team in the East is going to win. I wanted to bring this game up because Derek White recorded his first triple-double on the Boston Celtics. 22 points, 10 assists, and 10 rebounds. So, obviously, very, very important player to this team. His defense is not only, he didn't shoot the ball that well in this game, 8 for 20 from the field, but still, his defense is definitely something that brings a lot of value to this team and is definitely something that should not be overlooked. Now, Porzingis made an appearance in this game, ended the game with 20 points. Jaylen Brown ended the game with 31 points. There was no Jason Tatum in this game, but they didn't really need Jason Tatum in this game because, again, it's the Detroit Pistons. They are the worst team in the NBA. Well, the second worst team in the NBA. I actually think the worst team in the NBA now is the Washington Wizards. But that's just me. I think Cade Cunningham is a better player than Jordan Poole right now. But that's just me. And with that, we're out of time for this segment. So now I'm going to go ahead and go into the second segment where where I talk about the NBA power rankings that were released yesterday. So I'm going to look at the power rankings of last week and see what I feel should change going into this week. So I will be right back after this short break.